Hello, my name is Martin de la Serna. I'm the Vice President for Europe, Middle East, and Africa for Cambium Networks. Today it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Kendall Ananyi, the founder and CEO of Tizeti Networks. Kendall, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Martin. My name is Kendall. I'm founder and CEO of Tizeti. Tizeti is a wireless internet service provider that operates in Africa. We're primarily in Nigeria, and we just expanded into Ghana in west of Africa.
Outstanding. It's great to have you here today, Kendall. Kendall launched Tizeti Networks to pursue his dream of bringing affordable communications to Africa. The operation launched in Lagos, Nigeria. Lagos is one of the most densely inhabited cities on earth, 20 million people, hundreds of internet service providers, and very highly congested spectrum. It causes interference. So Tizeti has been able to build an outstanding success story of a network with over 2 million Wi-Fi subscribers, over 100 towers, 25,000 fixed wireless access retail clients. They've deployed over 3,000 access points of Cambium's E500 series, and over 90% of their sites are solar powered. So Tizeti is really disrupting telecommunication services in Nigeria and in other parts of Africa, and that is why it's so exciting for us to have Kendall here today. They're innovating on many levels, on the service offering, on the network architecture, on how they're deploying their capital. So Kendall, thank you for joining us. If you could just tell us a little bit about your vision for Tizeti, how it began, and how you got your start.
So, what Tizeti is today came out of my last year in my master's in University of Victoria, Canada. I had this thesis of what the world would look like if we had Wi-Fi everywhere. And it's funny enough, it talked about everything around streaming music up all the way to working from home. And over 5 years after that, I'd spent some time working in Microsoft in Canada. I came back to Nigeria with ExxonMobil building these large oil and gas facilities that I decided it was time to actually move on with the vision of actually providing uncapped internet in Africa. And started off with the first tower, not knowing what I was doing, but just put up a wireless access point in the 5 gigahertz band. And me and my co-founder were surprised it worked. And this was a small gated community where I lived. And then from there, we just moved from one gated community to another, going from home to home, providing internet. Then we decided it was time to actually break out from just delivering internet in gated communities and into the regular community. And so in Lagos, we moved from the Lagos Island into the mainland. And there we just kept on going. And we've gone from parts of Lagos to another city, to another state, and to another country now with Ghana. And our hope is to just keep replicating the same thing over and over, providing unlimited internet to folks. And it's not just unlimited internet, it's internet that is cheap, 30 to 50% cheaper than your mobile data plan. So making it a no-brainer for the consumer. You have folks that can now get unlimited internet for something that's around the same price point at data cap. It's a model that we've gone from city to city and want to replicate across multiple countries.
It's really exciting to watch Tizeti Networks flourish. We at Cambium Networks have accompanied this journey since the early days, and as Kendall mentioned, because of Tizeti's disruptive business model, because of Tizeti's innovation at so many levels, not only the service plans, but also how the network is architected, they're able to bring telecommunications, wireless connectivity to places that before it was not available, it was not possible. And this is probably one of the most exciting elements of the success story, which is Kendall's vision in university, I believe. Wasn't it part of your thesis?
It was part of my master's.
Exactly. And now Tizeti has gone from being a neighborhood ISP into really a formidable service provider that the large national carriers in Nigeria are looking at and saying, wow, what is happening here? There's something really innovative. With some of the unique challenges that Tizeti faces in those markets that you work in, one could almost consider this the Champions League or the Olympics of service provision. What are some of the unique challenges that you feel that you're overcoming in your markets that maybe other service providers can learn from?
Oh, first one would be, the primary one would be interference, right? When we first started off a couple of years ago, the 5 gigahertz band wasn't as congested as it is right now. But now as more people come online, we're finding out that trying to deliver great quality of service was challenging. So we had a provider, an OEM we're working with before, and it just wasn't quite what we expected out of the quality as things got congested. So over time, we got introduced to Cambium, set up the first APs. It worked better than in a congested environment in this, you've seen the picture of Lagos, right? And we just kept on rolling out the Cambium, and it just works out of the box. You don't need serious technical knowledge to be able to deploy Cambium. And we've also seen that that has helped our business too, because where you have interference, you have customers complain, and that adds to churn. And it's better off spending a little bit more buying Cambium on the front end, and you reap it from a reduction in truck rolls down the road. So your OPEX cost is reduced in maintaining your customers, and you retain your customers much longer. So.
The situation with the spectrum in Lagos and in other parts of Nigeria, a very congested spectrum that causes a lot of interference in the unlicensed 5 gigahertz band, is something that we see around the world. This is a challenge that all service providers are facing in large and urban environments with a lot of service providers, which is why we have invested so heavily in solutions that help mitigate that interference. It's great to see that Tizeti has been able to bring these solutions to bear and deploy them so that you can offer a high quality service to your customers in spite of some of these challenges that you're seeing. Now there's a recent challenge that's arrived on the scene globally, and it's affected every customer, every partner, every service provider everywhere, which is COVID. How has COVID affected Tizeti's business in Nigeria, Kendall?
COVID's exponential increase in data consumption from the customers. It took us over more than 5 years since we launched formally to get to 100 terabytes per month. What we're now seeing is we've now gotten to a point where in 6 months we're now at 100 terabytes per day, and we're now at 150 terabytes. It's so you can see just doubled in the last 6 months, past when we celebrated a milestone, not knowing that even the next milestone is just 6 months away. And so any equipment that you're using to offer internet service has to be something that can support a large number of users connecting at the same time, because before you had this whole situation where folks using internet from their office in the daytime, and then you have this when it peaks out in the night when people get to their homes. But now you're seeing this constant people working from home. Home is now the office pretty much, and you have this constant use of the internet around the clock. And so for us, where we're offering unlimited 24 hours, 24/7 data plans, you have to have equipment that actually can help support that. And it's one of the good things about Cambium too. It's not just from a point of a single AP can even support a large number of simultaneous connections. So it's one thing to have an AP that can support a few users at a time, but when you're now starting to push numbers, that helps out too, because you know that the capex per user, Cambium equipment excels in that scenario.
And Tizeti, you have broken new ground in capital efficiency and deploying capital in the most efficient way to get a very high return. It's really been impressive for us to watch how you've deployed. I wanted to repeat a statistic you just shared with us, Kendall. It took 5 years to get to 100 terabytes per day of usage, and then 6 months later, when COVID hit, 150 terabytes per day. That's a remarkable acceleration in capacity and customer usage. And we at Cambium have seen that across the region. All of our service providers have seen spikes in the usage of their networks as people are working from home, children are educating from home. The new paradigm that COVID has brought to us has accelerated a natural process that was underway, would have taken maybe 3 to 5 years. It has now happened in 6 months. So how has your network responded under the strain of suddenly loading it so heavily?
So primarily we had a lot of wireless backhaul links. So we moved to fiber where fiber is available, but fiber is not available everywhere. So you can't get fiber to every tower. You're still going to use wireless backhauls when you can. So we did a bunch of upgrades, even at the core level, changed some of the routers we had from where you'd had 1 gig, you had to move to 10 gigs where you can. And we also, even up to our connection to our upstream provider, we use EMEA in Nigeria, we had to upgrade to 10 gigabits per second SFPs. And if you look at how we've transitioned, we started off, so we're a provider that started off buying 1 meg. We've moved from 1 meg, we've seen 100 meg, we've seen 1 gig, now we're seeing 10 gigs. Who knows, sometime in the future we'll be talking about 100 gig connections.
We will be, and in our lifetimes we're going to go past that, Kendall. That's an amazing story. We don't see that many service providers in your market really rolling out successful residential consumer retail broadband services with this kind of success. There's so much focus on enterprise because, frankly, for many service providers, that's where the money is. But where there's so much need in the residential and retail space, and this is where Tizeti has really, been disruptive and had great success. What would you ascribe the success you've had, Kendall, in this residential and retail space too?
So one of the reasons is capital efficiency that allowed us provide this affordable data plans. And we could only do that by being innovative in the way we even built the towers, in the ways we owned and operated the towers, in the equipment we use on the towers themselves. We're able to pass all of the savings, and the way we pass all of the savings to our customer. Our towers themselves are super innovative, as they are all, 90% of them are solar powered. So that way we don't have to deal with diesel generators, trucking diesel to the towers themselves. All of that OPEX savings from the diesel, we pass it on to our customers in a cost of sales of the capacity we buy via 24/7 unlimited plans, right? So, but the incumbents, the telcos, they have to use a model where they're offering data capped plans to the end user because of the high cost to operate their networks.
Well, that's an amazing statistic, Kendall. I don't think I've heard of any service provider providing or delivering 90% of their sites energy under solar power. This is outstanding. And as you mentioned, the large carriers are needing to deploy where there's unreliable commercial power. In many parts of the world, commercial power comes and goes, and to provide a reliable quality service, you need continuous power. And so some of the large carriers have to deploy generators, diesel, then a diesel distribution system, then security to protect the diesel, and it becomes just a snowball effect of OPEX. And what Tizeti has been able to do is to overcome a lot of those problems by designing the network architecture so that you can deliver that service on reliable, continuous solar power. It's really an outstanding achievement that we applaud. Why don't we tell our viewers what the first service plan that Tizeti offered on your network and how long ago that was?
Well, we launched formally to the public 2014, and we're offering 1 meg plans, 2 meg plans. Then we transitioned to 5 meg plans, then 10 meg. Then now we're offering 10 meg plan, which is contended 10 meg plan. But what is coming down the road is I'm super excited because the next generation of Tizeti plans would take that to the next level to about 100 megabits per second. And this is not even the case of, that's not the limit. What I'm seeing with the next generation of Tizeti that we're working with Cambium will be, we should be able to deliver a gig wirelessly to anybody without, so which is crazy, because if you can think of it, we can now deliver one gig over wireless versus over fiber. So we don't even have to deal with permitting and all of the stuff which you typically have with fiber to the home. We can just get you set up in less than an hour, and we can deliver a gig to an enterprise and even 100 meg to the end user.
Wow.
So you're having a sneak peek of what is coming down the road with Tizeti.
Wow, Kendall. My first visit to Lagos, Nigeria was in 2001. And I remember my experience in telecommunications and trying to get connectivity in 2001. And now to have you here talking about a gig to the end user or a gig to an enterprise is really mind-boggling. It's really an exciting story. And it really fortifies the message that we at Cambium are trying to share with all of our stakeholders of multi-gigabit wireless fabric. It's here today. It's a reality. And we have service providers that are now able to take to the market a real gigabit plan. Now, there won't be that much demand for a gigabit yet, but it's not far away. As you've described, you started with a meg, then 10, then 100. It's really like Moore's Law as we're accelerating through the connectivity and all the services that this can facilitate. Kendall, could we spend a moment talking about Facebook Express Wi-Fi? So Cambium is far and away the largest deployment of Facebook's Express Wi-Fi in Africa. And Tizeti was one of our early adopters, early customers of the Express Wi-Fi value proposition. Maybe you can describe for our guests here today, how did Express Wi-Fi affect your business and what were you able to do with it?
So let me talk a little bit about what Facebook Express Wi-Fi is. So Facebook Express Wi-Fi is a partnership with Facebook and Tizeti, where we deploy data cap plans, very affordable data cap plans, way cheaper than what you can get from any telco carrier in Nigeria. We're able to achieve that by using super capital efficient equipment that we get from Cambium. So we deploy an access point, a Cambium access point to a retailer, and then they can then sell or dispense Wi-Fi using Facebook Express Wi-Fi. So the retailer can vend Wi-Fi, and these are cheap plans. You can think about it as the bulk of the market in Africa is at the lower end of the market. Mm-hmm. So where normally our ARPU for our fixed wireless is $30, we're leaving out a whole section of people who couldn't serve out from our towers. But with Facebook Express Wi-Fi, we can then do the same kind of setup we would typically have done in a home, but this time I would put up a Cambium access point there, and then the customer can then just connect to it with any Wi-Fi enabled phones. And over the last couple of years, we've seen the cost of phones with Wi-Fi go down significantly. So you can have, for less than $20 now, you can get a Wi-Fi enabled phone, an Android phone in Africa. And so this immediately opened up that phase of the market. I remember us getting to 200K in about a year. It was a big deal for us. 200K users are connected to Facebook Express Wi-Fi, and then right now we're talking about 10x that amount since 2017. Wow. And the good thing about Facebook Express Wi-Fi, which is why it's also near and dear to me, is it also provides revenue to the retailers themselves, because they get a commission for selling the Wi-Fi for us. So it's a win-win situation where they get this additional service they can offer. These are typical mom and pop stores in a dense area like you saw earlier. And the revenue helps a lot. It also attracts customers too to whatever their primary business is. We've seen retailers start off with one shop and then come into a neighboring shop and expand into the Express Wi-Fi into that. And we're now seeing super retailers that have a number of these locations. We have about 3,000 of these deployed. Wow. And it's sustainable too, because if you look at the history of Wi-Fi, like I said, from when I wrote out that thesis on Wi-Fi, 802.11b, GN, there's been a number of trials at this public Wi-Fi thing in the past, but this Express Wi-Fi is one of the ones that's been self-sustaining. Most public Wi-Fi projects in the past, because of the mix of the technology, ability, but what we've now seen is past 802.11n, you're now seeing, and obviously a lot to do with Cambium's history of providing wireless too. we're now seeing that we can now deploy this public Wi-Fi hotspots across, so whether it's in the airport or it's express Wi-Fi, as the case may be, we're now able to then have people just be 50 meters from an AP accessing Wi-Fi, cheap Wi-Fi.
Kendall, the story you just described is really frames Tizeti as the poster child for connecting the unconnected, because you mentioned that historically the ARPUs that the service providers are operating in is really at the top of the ARPU pyramid, as we describe it, but doesn't bring service to the general population or the masses. And as you mentioned in your university thesis, this was your dream long before these technologies existed, and now you're describing about 3,000 retailers, or as you call them, mom and pop shops that have a public Wi-Fi access point and are reselling Tizeti services, and this is drawing in additional business to their micro business. And then now you even have super retailers that are replicating themselves. This is really an exciting story, and it speaks to the economic impact of bringing connectivity to these neighborhoods. So maybe you can say a few words about your competitors, because you've mentioned once or twice that the Tizeti business model is disrupting the market and it's forcing your competitors to respond. So what is Tizeti bringing?
So our price plan at $30 a month on the fixed wireless, nobody was doing. Everything was pretty much double that price, or at least 50% more when we got into the market. But immediately Tizeti started executing, we started seeing competition, which is the major telcos or the 4G LTE providers, try to reduce the price of their plans. But again, it's still a no-brainer because those are data cap plans and are still more expensive than an unlimited plan. So they're having to respond to Tizeti. In fact, if we go into a new city, we see the response from the larger telcos. They want to try to still capture some of that class of customers. And then even with Express Wi-Fi too, we're now even able to, so a combination of having put up a tower, we can then serve both people on the middle of the market and people at the bottom of the market. So we're able to again capture this value and provide this service to our customers, right?
And I would not want to be a competitor of Tizeti's in Nigeria right now, because I can just imagine you're there comfortable with your big national network, and suddenly a plucky, fast-growing, innovative competitor shows up on the scene and turns everything upside down. So that's really interesting. One of the, sorry, go ahead, Kendall.
Yeah, so just the funny thing is, if you Google unlimited internet Nigeria, Tizeti is the first on the Google rank for the last couple of years. You'll see our competition try to respond by either running ads above it or running, but we've consistently been #1 on Google rank. And then in Ghana, it was funny because we've been in Ghana for only about a year. Mm-hmm. It took about 3 months to get to the #1 when you Google unlimited internet Ghana. And we're just in one city in Ghana. So it just tells you how folks are actually starting the search from I'm frustrated with how much I'm paying for my internet with the data caps. Is either running out? And then, oh, I wish there's unlimited internet. And that's how they keep searching. And then they find, oh, unlimited internet in Nigeria. They see the price in Nigeria is Wifi.com.ng. They call us up. I'm like, is there something?
Is this for real?
Is this for real?
I don't believe you.
And then we've gotten to the point where the next newest city where we're going to, Benin, Edo, we're now taking pre-sign-ups. If you understand how West Africans are, you have to actually believe in a service that much that you haven't seen for you to actually get to the level where you pre-sign up. Wow. So that's where we are now, where we're now taking pre-sign up. So
customers are coming and saying, I want to buy this service and pay for this service before it's arrived in the market.
Based on what my friends have told me in Lagos, my friends in Ogun have told me, and the pre-sign up list is scary sometimes because we're like, now we have to get there.
Now we got to deliver. It's showtime now. Well, that's an inflection point because I've never heard of that. And so to have customers, as Kendall describes the particular market in Nigeria, and this is true across many African markets, to go and put money down and say, I'm signing up and I want this before it even exists, that is not a common phenomenon. So I have to applaud you, because your brand is really picking up momentum and picking up steam. And it really speaks to the next billion. This is the business model for accessing and bringing connectivity to those next billion. We hear this term so many times in telecommunication circles, and Tizeti has proven it. It's not just the ability to bring the service, but it's the ability to make a profitable business out of it. And that's really what's so exciting about this, is you are able to deliver this service without having to rely on subsidies, without having to force yourself. It's really about a market that is interesting for you to go and get, and that's going to be the interior of Nigeria and Ghana.
And even with technology startup, I think one of the things that attracted investors to us was our story of bootstrapping to $1 million run rate. So $1 million is a big deal in revenue for any African company, but Tizeti was able to get to $1 million by bootstrapping, which is just built the first towers. From the revenue of the first towers, moved on to the next tower, and then that's how we've sequenced across Africa. So we got to $1 million run rate, tripled revenue, became EBITDA positive. We're now profitable and free cash flow. So this is a very West African or Nigerian thing. If you give a Nigerian $1, they're able to stretch it out further than anywhere else.
How can I invest? That sounds like a great story. It's interesting because this is really an interesting trajectory, and maybe your plans are to take Tizeti and list it, or what's your vision for the company in the future?
So for me, my vision is for Tizeti to be a large public company, by just because our story is starting from bootstrapping, getting investors on. We want to be able to just take that story all the way to the NASDAQ. I wrote a personal goal to ring the bell at some point.
Wow.
So we'll see how that goes. But everything is looking really good for us as a company.
It's looking pretty exciting. And if you're able to get to that goal, Kendall, and ring that bell, you'll be in really impressive company. We at Cambium really celebrated our story, and were able to ring that bell when we went public on the NASDAQ in 2019. And we haven't looked back since. Just a couple of weeks ago, we crossed the $1 billion market cap mark. So we hope that's an inspiration for Kendall and your colleagues at Tizeti. Kendall, I'd like to move a moment to talk about technology and some of the products, because you've taken some of our products and done unique things with them. And we describe our product portfolio as wireless fabric, because you can go end to end on a Cambium wireless network, from the Wi-Fi, the access network, the backhaul network, all on a management system. What elements of the wireless fabric have you used, Kendall, and which ones have really made the biggest impact?
So we started on the fixed wireless side, EPMP 1000, 2000, 3000, and this is coming from a different provider. We've used that on our towers spread across Nigeria. Then for Express Wi-Fi, we're using the E500 and the E510s, which is this, for me, it's the best wireless APs I've seen to date. Like based on the number of active connections too, because that has always been the problem, and the distance they can travel to as an outdoor Wi-Fi. I think even Cambium marketing, they undersell it, right? What you see in the field is way more than you expect for an outdoor AP. You get people connecting from 50, 75 meters too, and they still can keep a connection on the public outdoor side of things. And what's impressive about the 3000 is the fact that you now have 4x4 MIMO, which for someone like me that started off with writing about 802.11b, that's awesome. And then personally, there's been 2 times I've had this really great breakthrough. One will be the first time we delivered the internet, and the second will be when I got the test results from the new CN Wave portfolio of devices. The CN Wave blows anything you've seen out of the water. Not a lot of people, I don't know, folks are starting to get their hands on it, But if you're lucky enough to get those equipment, I think it's something that Cambium may need to get their supply chain going with it, because the demand will be out of this world. And the thing is that also the form factor is not this huge. The V5000 is not something you would think is a huge piece of equipment that is going to come up in the tower. Those things are pole mounted, and again, that also reduces your capital your capex to actually deployed network. And then what's cool about them is they can connect to each other, so you don't also always have to worry about how you're going to backhaul
the next. You
can mesh them together,
yeah.
right? This was something we saw in Express Wi-Fi when I was talking about super retailers, where one E500 can connect to another. They've now taken it to the next level, where, and then if you also look at the fact with the 60 gigahertz, right, is, as far as I'm concerned, it's interference free. So we started this conversation talking about interference. Since you now have a tool that can deliver a gig that's interference free, I'm even super excited what comes from that too, because now we can deliver significant speeds to a customer who are just starting to use things, who are just starting to get a TV over the internet and have voice calls and video conferencing. So when you have this connection that can deliver significant capacity, Cambium is the best at that. And this is coming from someone that has used all of so if you're talking about on the fixed wireless side with the EPMP 3000, and if you're talking about even on the Wi-Fi AP side, which is the E500 and the E510, it's best in class.
Oh, that's great to hear. And CN Wave, for those who may not be familiar with the product, it's a recently released Cambium 60 gigahertz point-to-multipoint platform. And I'm pleased to hear, Kendall, your experience has been so positive with it. As you say, we do have very strong demand for the product, and so we're building it as fast as we can, but things are going well. I love the concept of going from a megabit to 1,000 megabits in 6 years. No, this is the leapfrog effect that we often hear in markets like the African market, where the adoption of the latest technology skips several cycles that we may see in other markets as they evolve. No, you're going straight to the fastest and straight to the best. So that's outstanding, and it's going to permit a lot of new and innovative services. No, all those entrepreneurs that Tizeti is enabling in the market are going to come up with great creative new ideas to use uncapped high-speed connectivity. So it's really an interesting opportunity. Kendall, one of you gave an interview. I remember I was reading on LinkedIn, and you gave an interview in which you described the capital efficiency of Tizeti networks, which means being able to achieve so much, with limited capital resources. What's if you're able to share with our viewers, what are some of the secrets on this capital efficiency?
So capital efficiency starts with the equipment you're going to get. So for us, we build this 100-foot towers and put access points like the EPMP 3000 and them. But it's not just putting the access point that's capital efficiency. From the moment we install the towers, right, and put the equipment there, how we own and operate those towers, which is different from the model the industry has gone through. So the industry moved through a phase where the telcos basically sold their towers and leased them back to the tower cos. Equivalent in this market would be American Towers or Crown Castle. And you have these contracts where they're denominated in US dollars in an African country where you have FX risk. So all of a sudden you have a situation where you're now having to pay every month in FX for that. But in our case, we're owning and operating the towers, and we're able to do that because, first of all, the equipment that we're putting down there just works, so you don't have to keep climbing up and down the tower. Secondly, they're super power efficient, right? They don't consume as much power as the equipment in the past. The telcos and the carriers on the other side have to deal with legacy 2G, 3G equipment, which are power guzzlers, and which they need to run off with generators, right? But we don't have that. We can run our towers off of solar and batteries, and that provides the power to actually run the towers themselves and provide the service 24/7. But a carrier in emerging market in Africa, like in my own market, has to basically lease a large space or plot of land where they're going to build a tower, where they're going to have diesel tanks, where they're going to have diesel generators, and then they have to pay the landowner a lot more because of the nuisance factor of having generators run round the clock, and then you have to maintain the generators themselves. All of this OPEX, they can only cover that by taxing the end user with data capped plans. But in our situations, we don't have any of those costs. So we go into a location, we need just a smaller piece of land just to hold the tower. The solar panels are a hang off of the towers themselves, and they provide, and because the equipment from Cambium is power efficient, we don't have to worry about putting generators there. All of a sudden, we gain from the lease, the cost of the lease, because the owner is more open to leasing us down location versus a telco, because there's no nuisance factor with the diesel truck showing up every 2 to 3 days. They don't have to deal with, the neighbors don't have to deal with the noise of a generator on 24/7. And then all of this cost saving, we pass it directly to the customer by providing unlimited internet. So yes, the customer might use a lot more internet, but internet prices has gone down over time because Lagos has
the idea that the customer uses more internet.
More internet. Yeah. They don't have to worry about their consumption, because that's what you would have with a mobile data plan.
Right. I like to remark on your comment. Taxing the end user with a data capped plan. You know, in many markets in the world where data caps no longer exist, there are still a significant number of markets around the world where data caps still exist, and the goal of uncapped plans is really opening up the floodgates, and it's great to see you guys being the pioneers in the market. I also the way you describe the tower side of some of your competitors and all the OPEX and all the layers of infrastructure that go in, and you linked it with CN Wave. The new CN Wave 60 gigahertz product has a really small form factor, and our Vice President of Engineering recently referred to, we are bringing wireless down to earth, meaning we're able to take wireless off the top of a tower that has a big site, that has a shelter, that has power, all of these things, and bringing it down to a pole mount, even at a customer location, installing the access points. So how does this seems to fit in nicely with Tizeti's strategy?
So we're already, we have 3,000 retailers providing service to them, right? That's the model that's actually going on. The telcos and carriers have to move towards, where you're moving from having towers, a few of them, which you lease a couple of sites. Now all of a sudden you have to come down to it where everything is smaller cells, things with smaller coverage, more denser, and they would struggle because they're not set up that way to have that kind of coverage across that. But I'm super excited. Like, I know I keep saying it, CN Wave is something that's going to really change how we deliver everything. Yes, it's the next wave. There you go.
Yeah. And so we've been talking quite a bit about your outdoor fixed wireless infrastructure. Cambium also has a very powerful and rapidly expanding portfolio of enterprise networking products. Now you're using our E500 outdoor Wi-Fi. We've also recently launched our indoor Wi-Fi 6 products, which are showing market-leading performance. We've got a switching portfolio. Have you had any thoughts about trying these out and maybe building your enterprise customer base?
So a year ago, we started getting requests from larger enterprise for our service, even though that was not our target market, because we're in the mid-market and at the bottom of the market. So we decided to start an enterprise business where we're providing dedicated, like committed rates to customers. And we're now seeing that when you go into an enterprise like that, it's not even, you go in with thinking that you're providing internet, but all of a sudden you see that they don't have, some of them may not have the setup, or they require additional Wi-Fi within their office, right? And so that has, that we're seeing that we're now having to sell APs to them, and Cambium has a breadth of switching products and APs that can serve the customer.
Well, we look forward to giving you a chance to build your enterprise business as well with our technology. We've talked a lot about fiber versus wireless, and now we at Cambium are absolutely convinced, and we say it publicly, that wireless is the new fiber. With the multi-gigabit wireless fabric, now the customer shouldn't be asking, well, I want fiber, I want wireless. No, what they want is reliable, high-speed service. And finally, we are at the place where this can be done over wireless and it's invisible or transparent to the customer. In fact, our CEO, Atul Bhatnagar, has often said, if it can be wireless, it will be wireless. Does this ring true for Tizeti in Africa?
Sure. Right. If anybody trying to deploy fiber in Africa is going to struggle. We don't have the road networks like the developing world. So even if you can't run where there's no road, you can't even run fiber. So there are places that would never get fiber. But even where you can deploy fiber, even as simple as bringing the fiber into the home, where you have to dig up the location, people feel uncomfortable with that and the time it takes to deploy. But with CN-Wave, right, you can just put up a CN-Wave distribution node, and then within that location, you can light that up and provide a gig to them, and without having to disturb them and dig up their roads and all of that. So if it's going to be, people prefer wireless. You could think of even in the offices and the homes, everybody wants to connect to wireless versus where when you know that you can get better connection off of when you're working from home, if you plug in a cable, nobody wants to do that. So if it's going to be wireless, wireless will be the first choice for everybody.
That warms our heart. We're a wireless company. Kendall, congratulations on a great story and an even brighter future. This story is just the beginning. It's at its beginning. It's at its inception. So it's very exciting. Cambium is honored and proud to be a part of that story and to be your technology partner. So I just want to say thank you for joining us and thank you for making it such a successful story.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Okay.